The day started like any other. People went to work, children played in parks, and life moved on as usual. No one knew that high above Earth, hidden behind the moon, a massive alien fleet was waiting. At exactly 12:00 p.m., every TV, radio, and phone on the planet buzzed with the same message. We are the Krezar. Your world is now ours. Then the sky lit up with fire. In Seoul, Captain Jae-won was eating lunch when the first explosions rocked the city. He looked up to see strange, disc-shaped ships filling the sky. They were firing bright blue beams that cut through buildings like they were made of paper. What's happening? Someone screamed. Jae-won didn't know, but his military training kicked in. He started guiding people to safety, his voice calm even though his heart was racing. All around the world, the same scene played out. New York, London, Beijing, Moscow. Every major city was under attack. The alien ships seemed to be everywhere at once. World leaders tried to fight back. They sent jets and missiles to attack the alien ships, but nothing worked. The Krezar ships had some kind of force field that stopped everything humans threw at them. In the chaos, Jae-won made his way to the nearest military base. It was hard going. The streets were full of scared people running in all directions. Cars were left abandoned, and some buildings were on fire. At the base, things were just as crazy. Soldiers were running around, trying to figure out what to do. Jae-won found his commanding officer, General Kim. "Sir, what are our orders?" Jae-won asked. General Kim looked tired and scared. "We're trying to coordinate with other countries, but communications are down. For now, we focus on saving as many people as we can." Jae-won nodded and got to work. He organized teams to help evacuate the city and set up shelters. It wasn't easy. The alien attacks kept coming, and people were panicking. As night fell, things got even worse. The Krezar ships landed, and strange alien soldiers came out. They were tall, with scaly green skin and 4 arms. They carried weapons that shot the same blue beams as their ships. Jae-won and his team tried to fight back, but their guns seemed useless against the alien armor. They were forced to retreat again and again. By midnight, most of Seoul was under Krezar control. The same was true for cities all over the world. Humanity had lost almost everything in just 12 hours. But Jae-won refused to give up. As he helped a group of survivors hide in an old subway tunnel, he started thinking. There had to be a way to fight back. Humans had faced tough times before, and always found a way to survive. He looked at the scared faces around him. Men, women, children, old and young. They were all counting on people like him to protect them. Jae-won made a silent promise. He would find a way to beat the Krezar, no matter what it took. Just then, his radio crackled to life. It was a message from what was left of the government. They were calling all military personnel to a secret location. They had a plan to strike back. For the first time since the invasion began, Jae-won felt a spark of hope. He turned to the people in the tunnel. "Stay here," he said. "Stay quiet and stay hidden. I'm going to find a way to stop this." As he slipped out of the tunnel and into the ruined city, Jae-won's mind was racing. The Krezar thought they had won. They thought humans would just roll over and accept defeat, but they were wrong. Jae-won looked up at the alien ships hovering in the night sky. "This isn't over," he whispered. "Not by a long shot." With that, he disappeared into the shadows, ready to join the fight for Earth's future. The Krezar had started this war, but Jae-won was determined that humans would finish it. The real battle was just beginning. 2 weeks had passed since the Krezar invasion began. The world was a very different place now. Most big cities were under alien control. Millions of people were missing or dead. Those who survived were scared and hungry. Jae-won had made it to the secret meeting place. It was an old bunker deep in the mountains. Here, military leaders from around the world were trying to find a way to fight back. "It's bad," said General Kim, pointing at a map. The Krezar control most of our cities. They're taking our resources and rounding up people. Jae-won looked at the map. Red marks showed where the aliens were. There was a lot of red. What about other countries? He asked. A woman stepped forward. She was tall with short black hair. I'm Colonel Yuna, she said. It's the same everywhere. The Krezar are too strong. Our weapons don't work against them. The room was quiet. Everyone knew how bad things were. But Jae-won refused to give up hope. There must be something we can do, he said. What about the people still out there? We need to help them. General Kim nodded. You're right. We're forming small teams to help survivors and gather information. Jae-won, I want you to lead one of these teams. Jae-won felt proud. This was his chance to make a difference. I won't let you down, sir, he said. The next day, Jae-won met his team. There was Min-ji, a smart computer expert. Tae-yong was good at fixing things. And Jin-ho was a brave soldier like Jae-won. Their first mission was to check on a group of survivors hiding in the ruins of Busan. It was dangerous. The city was full of Krezar soldiers. The team moved carefully through the empty streets. They saw signs of the invasion everywhere. Broken buildings, abandoned cars, and strange alien machines. Suddenly, Min-ji held up her hand. Stop, she whispered. I hear something. They all froze. Then they heard it too. A low humming sound. It was getting closer. Krezar patrol, said Tae-dong. We need to hide. They quickly ducked into a broken-down store. Through the dirty window, they saw 3 Krezar soldiers walk by. The aliens were tall and scary, with their 4 arms and scaly skin. After the patrol passed, the team moved on. They finally found the survivors hiding in an old subway station. Thank goodness you're here, said an old man. We thought everyone had forgotten about us. Jae-won and his team shared their food and medicine with the survivors. As they worked, Jae-won asked questions. He wanted to learn anything that might help fight the Krezar. One young woman, Sumin, had an interesting story. I used to work at a science lab, she said. Right before the invasion, we were working on a new kind of energy field. It might be useful against the Krezar. Jae-won's eyes lit up. This could be important. Can you tell me more? He asked. But before Sumin could answer, there was a loud crash from above. Dust fell from the ceiling. They found us, Jin-ho said, grabbing his gun. Jae-won knew they couldn't fight the Krezar here. There were too many scared people who could get hurt. We need to get these people out, he said to his team. Then he turned to the survivors. Is there another way out of here? An old subway worker nodded. There's an old tunnel. It hasn't been used in years, but it might lead to safety. Jae-won made a quick decision. Okay, everyone, grab what you can carry. We're leaving now. As they hurried the survivors into the dark tunnel, Jae-won could hear the Krezar getting closer. He knew they were in for a long, dangerous journey. But looking at the grateful faces of the people they were saving, he knew it was worth it. Every life they saved was a victory against the Krezar. As they walked into the darkness, Jae-won thought about what Sumin had said. A new kind of energy field. Maybe this was the break they needed. For the first time in weeks, Jae-won felt a glimmer of real hope. Humanity was down, but not out. And as long as people like him kept fighting, there was still a chance to win this war. The old subway tunnel was dark and wet. Jae-won and his team led the group of survivors through the darkness. They had been walking for hours. How much further? Asked Min-ji, her voice tired. Not sure, Jae-won replied, but we need to keep moving. Suddenly, Tae-yong, who was at the front, stopped. There's light ahead, he whispered. Everyone tensed up. Was it the Krezar? Had they been found? Jae-won moved to the front of the group. Stay here, he told the others. I'll check it out. He crept forward slowly. The light was getting brighter. Then he heard something that made him freeze. Voices. but they didn't sound human. Peeking around a corner, Jae-hwan saw something he never expected. It was a Krezar. But this one looked different. Its skin was a lighter color, and it seemed to be arguing with itself. Jae-hwan watched, confused. Then he realized. The Krezar was talking to someone through a communication device, and it sounded angry. "I won't do it," the Krezar was saying. "This invasion is wrong. Humans don't deserve this." Jae-hwan couldn't believe his ears. A Krezar who was against the invasion. This could change everything. He made a quick decision. It was risky, but they needed allies. Jae-hwan stepped out into the light. "Hello," he said, his heart pounding. "I'm Jae-hwan. I heard what you said. Are you against this invasion?" The Krezar spun around, surprised. For a moment, Jae-hwan thought he had made a terrible mistake. But then the alien's shoulders slumped. "I am Lox," it said. "And yes, I believe this invasion is wrong. But I am just one Krezar. What can I do?" Jae-hwan felt a spark of hope. "You can help us," he said. "We're fighting back. With your knowledge, we might have a chance." Lox seemed to think for a moment. Then it nodded. "Very well. I will help you." Jae-hwan called the rest of the group. At first, everyone was scared of Lox. But as the Krezar explained things, they began to relax. "The Krezar have weaknesses," Lox told them. "Our ships depend on a special energy source. If you can disrupt it, our technology will fail." This was huge news. Jae-hwan remembered what Su-min had said about the energy field her lab was working on. Could there be a connection? He turned to Su-min. "You mentioned an energy field earlier. Could it affect the Krezar technology?" Su-min's eyes widened. "Maybe, if we could adjust the frequency. Yes, it might work." Excitement spread through the group. For the first time, they had a real plan to fight back. But their excitement was short-lived. Suddenly, they heard noises from the tunnel behind them. The Krezar had found their trail. "We need to move," Jae-hwan said. "Lox, is there a safe place we can go?" Lox thought for a moment. "Yes, there's an old human military base nearby. The Krezar think it's abandoned. We can hide there and work on your energy field." They hurried through the tunnels, guided by Lox. Just as they heard the Krezar patrol getting close, they found the exit. The old military base was hidden in the mountains. It was dusty and old, but it had what they needed: a lab, equipment, and safety. As everyone settled in, Jae-hwan looked around. It was a strange group. Humans from all walks of life, his team, and now a Krezar ally. But together, they had a chance to change the course of the war. Su-min was already setting up in the lab, her eyes bright with determination. Lox was sharing everything it knew about Krezar technology. The others were setting up defenses, just in case. Jae-hwan felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. They had a long way to go, but they had taken the first step. Humanity wasn't giving up. And now, they had an unexpected ally in their fight. As he watched everyone working together, Jae-hwan smiled. The Krezar thought humans would fall easily, but they were about to learn how strong humanity could be when pushed to the edge. The real fight was just beginning. Days turned into weeks at the old military base. Jae-hwan and his team worked hard to turn their ideas into reality. Su-min spent long hours in the lab, trying to perfect the energy field. Lox shared everything it knew about Krezar technology. One day, as Jae-hwan was checking the base's defenses, he heard excited shouts from the lab. He rushed over to find Su-min jumping up and down with joy. "We did it," she cried. "The energy field works. It can disrupt Krezar communications." Everyone gathered around as Su-min explained. The energy field could mess up the signals the Krezar used to talk to each other. Without those signals, their ships and weapons wouldn't work right. "This is great news," Jae-hwan said. "But how do we use it against the Krezar? We can't get close to their ships." Lox stepped forward. "What if we don't need to?" it said. Earth has its own energy field, the magnetic field. If we could use that. Su Min's eyes lit up. Of course, we could use the Earth's magnetic field to spread our disruptive energy around the whole planet. It was a bold plan. If it worked, they could shut down all Krezar technology at once. But it would be very hard to do. We'll need help, J1 said. We have to contact the resistance groups all over the world. For the next few days, they worked on two things. First, they had to find a way to send messages without the Krezar noticing. Second, they needed to build devices that could send out the special energy field. Minji figured out how to send secret messages using old radio waves. The Krezar didn't pay attention to these outdated signals. Slowly, they made contact with other human groups around the world. Taeyong and Lux worked together to build the energy devices. They needed one on every continent for the plan to work. It was dangerous, but resistance groups volunteered to set them up. As the day of the big plan got closer, Jae-hwan felt nervous but excited. This could be the turning point in the war against the Krezar. The night before the plan was to start, Jae-hwan couldn't sleep. He went for a walk outside the base. To his surprise, he found Lux looking up at the stars. "Are you okay?" Jae-hwan asked. Lux turned to him. "I was thinking about my people. Not all Krezar are bad. Many don't know the truth about humans." Jae-hwan nodded. "When this is over, maybe we can find a way to live in peace." As the sun rose the next day, everyone was ready. Resistance groups around the world waited for the signal. Su-min sat at the main controls, ready to start the energy field. "It's time," Jae-hwan said. He looked at each member of his team, then at Lux. "Whatever happens, we've done our best. Let's show the Krezar what humans can do." Su-min pressed the button. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then they heard a strange humming sound. The air felt charged with energy. On screens around the room, they watched as reports came in from around the world. Krezar ships were falling from the sky. Their weapons stopped working. Alien soldiers were running in confusion. A cheer went up in the base. Their plan was working. For the first time since the invasion, the humans were winning. But Jae-hwan knew this was just the beginning. The Krezar would fight back. There would be hard battles ahead. He looked at his team, humans, and one brave Krezar. They had done the impossible. They had given Earth a chance. As the reports of victory kept coming in, Jae-hwan allowed himself a small smile. The Krezar thought humans would fall easily. But now, they were learning a hard lesson. Humanity wasn't just strong. When pushed to the edge, when everything was on the line, humanity was unstoppable. The real fight was just beginning. But now, for the first time, Earth had hope. The days after the big attack were busy and exciting. All over the world, humans were fighting back against the Krezar. Without their advanced technology, the alien invaders were much weaker. Jae-hwan and his team were always on the move. They traveled from city to city, helping people and organizing attacks on Krezar bases. It was hard work, but everyone felt hopeful. One day, they arrived in Seoul. The city looked very different from when Jae-hwan had left it. Many buildings were broken, and the streets were empty. But here and there, he saw signs of life. People were starting to come out of hiding. "It's good to be home," Jae-hwan said, looking around. Su-min nodded. "Yes, but we have a lot of work to do." They set up a base in an old school building. Soon, people from all over the city came to help. Everyone wanted to do their part to push the Krezar out. Lux was a big help. It knew how the Krezar thought and how they would try to fight back. This information was very useful for planning attacks. One evening, as they were planning their next move, Min-jae ran in with exciting news. "I just got a message from the resistance in America," she said. "They've taken back New York City." Everyone cheered. It was the first major city to be fully freed from the Krezar. Jae-hwan smiled. "That's great news. If they can do it, so can we. Let's make Seoul the next free city. They worked day and night to make plans. Taeyong made special devices that could find hidden Krezar. Jin-Ho trained people to fight. Su-Min kept improving the energy field to keep the Krezar technology down. Finally, they were ready. The attack on the Krezar in Seoul began early one morning. Jae-Hwan led a team to take back the city center. Other groups attacked Krezar bases all over the city. The fighting was hard. Even without their advanced weapons, the Krezar were strong. But the humans were fighting for their home, and they wouldn't give up. By the end of the day, most of Seoul was free. Jae-Hwan stood in front of the old city hall, now a Krezar command center. It was the last place the aliens controlled in the city. "This is it," he told his team. "Let's finish this." They fought their way into the building. At the top, they found the Krezar leader. It was bigger than the others, with dark green scales. The alien looked at them with anger. "You think you've won," it said. "This isn't over. The Krezar will never stop." Jae-Hwan stepped forward. "You're right. It's not over. But Earth is our home, and we will never stop fighting for it." With those words, they captured the Krezar leader. Seoul was free. As night fell, people came out onto the streets. They were crying, laughing, and hugging each other. For the first time in months, the city was alive with hope. Jae-Hwan and his team stood on top of the city hall, looking out over Seoul. They could see small fires where there was still fighting, but most of the city was quiet. "We did it," Su-Min said, smiling. "We all did it," Jae-Hwan replied, looking at his team. Every person who didn't give up, who kept fighting. "This is their victory." Lox looked sad. "I wish my people had understood humans better. This war should never have happened." Jin-Ho put a hand on Lox's shoulder. "You helped make this possible. You're one of us now." As they stood there, Jae-Hwan's radio buzzed. It was General Kim. "Jae-Hwan, great work in Seoul," the general said. "But we're not done yet. The Krezar are planning something big. We need you and your team for a special mission." Jae-Hwan looked at his team. They were tired, but he could see the determination in their eyes. They were ready for whatever came next. "We're ready, sir," Jae-Hwan said. "What's the mission?" As General Kim explained, Jae-Hwan felt a mix of excitement and fear. This would be their biggest challenge yet, but looking at his team, at the free city around them, he knew they could do it. The war wasn't over, but humanity had shown its strength. Whatever the Krezar planned next, Earth would be ready. Jae-Hwan and his team stood in the war room, looking at a big map. General Kim pointed to a spot in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. "This is where the Krezar have built their main base on Earth," he said. "They're planning a big attack from here. We need to stop them." The team looked worried. The base was on a huge ship in the middle of the ocean. How could they attack it? Su-Min spoke up. "If we can get close, I might be able to shut down their defenses with our energy field." "But how do we get close?" asked Taeyong. "They'll see us coming." Lox, who had been quiet, suddenly had an idea. "What if they don't see us coming? I know how to make a Krezar ship invisible to their sensors." Everyone looked at Lox in surprise. This could work. The plan was dangerous. Jae-Hwan and his team would sneak onto the Krezar base using a stolen and hidden ship. Once inside, they would turn off the defenses so the human army could attack. As they got ready, Jae-Hwan felt nervous. This mission could end the war, but it was very risky. The night before they left, he couldn't sleep. He went for a walk and found Su-Min looking at the stars. "Are you scared?" he asked. Su-Min nodded. "A little. But I'm also excited. We've come so far." Jae-Hwan smiled. "Whatever happens, I'm glad you're here. We couldn't have done this without you." The next morning, they left in their hidden ship, Lox Fluid, using all its knowledge to avoid being seen. As they got close to the Krezar base, everyone held their breath. Would the plan work? Suddenly, alarms started ringing. "They've seen us," shouted Minji. The ship shook as the Krezar fired at them. Lox tried to dodge, but they were hit. "We're going down," Lox yelled. "Hold on." Their ship crashed onto the deck of the huge Krezar base. As they climbed out of the wreck, they saw hundreds of Krezar soldiers coming towards them. "Run," shouted Jawan. "We need to find the control room." They ran through the strange alien ship, fighting off Krezar at every turn. Jin Ho and Tai Yong stayed behind to hold off the aliens while the others went ahead. Finally, they found the control room. But it was full of Krezar officers. "I'll distract them," said Lox. "You and Su-min get to the main computer." Before Jae-won could stop it, Lox ran into the room, shouting in the Krezar language. The aliens were so surprised to see one of their own that they didn't notice Jae-won and Su-min sneaking in. While Lox kept the Krezar busy, Su-min worked on the computer. Jae-won protected her, fighting off any alien that got too close. "I've got it," Su-min finally shouted. "The defenses are down." Just then, they heard a loud boom. Through the windows, they saw human ships attacking the Krezar base. But their victory was short-lived. The Krezar leader, the same one they had fought in Seoul, entered the room. "You," it roared, looking at Jawan. "You have ruined everything." The alien leader charged at them. Jae-won pushed Su-min out of the way and faced the angry Krezar. They fought hard, but the Krezar was very strong. Just when Jae-won thought he couldn't fight anymore, he heard Su-min shout, "Jae-won, catch." She threw him a Krezar weapon. Jae-won caught it and used it to knock out the alien leader. As the Krezar fell, they heard cheers from outside. The human army had won. Tired but happy, Jae-won, Su-min, and Lox went to find the rest of their team. The final battle was over. They had won. As they walked out onto the deck of the now quiet Krezar ship, they saw human ships all around. People were cheering and waving. Jae-won looked at his team, humans, and one brave Krezar. They were dirty, hurt, and tired, but their eyes shone with joy and pride. The war was over, Earth was safe, and it was all because humans had refused to give up hope. As the sun rose over the ocean, Jae-won knew that a new day was beginning, not just for him and his team, but for all of humanity. 1 year had passed since the great battle that ended the Krezar invasion. The world was slowly healing, cities were being rebuilt, people were returning to their homes, and everywhere there were signs of a new and stronger humanity. Jae-won stood on top of a tall building in Seoul, looking out over the city. So much had changed. He could see new buildings rising up next to old ones. In the streets below, humans and friendly Krezar worked together to clean up and build. "It's amazing, isn't it?" said a voice behind him. It was Su-min, walking up to stand beside him. Jae-won nodded. "A year ago, we thought we might lose everything. Now look at us." They watched as a group of children ran by, laughing. Some were human, some were young Krezar who had stayed on Earth. They played together without fear. "General Kim wants to see us," Su-min said. "Something about a new project." They went to the new government building. Inside, they found their old team. Minji, Tai-yong, Jin Ho, and Lox, all waiting. General Kim walked in, smiling. "Good, you're all here. I have big news." He showed them pictures of a strange-looking ship. "This is humanity's first faster-than-light spaceship, and I want your team to be its crew." Everyone was shocked. They were going to space. "But why us?" asked Jin Ho. "Because you showed us what humanity can do when we work together," said the general. "And now we need to show the rest of the galaxy." Over the next few months, they trained hard. They learned about space travel, alien cultures, and how to be diplomats for Earth. The day of the launch came quickly. As they got ready to board the ship, now named Hope, Jae-won looked at his team. "I never thought we'd end up here when we first met," he said, "but I'm glad it's with all of you." Lox, who now wore a human-style uniform, nodded. You taught me that different species can work together. Now we can share that lesson with the galaxy. As they walked up to the ship, crowds cheered. People from all over the world had come to see them off. Inside the ship, everyone took their positions. Jae-hwan sat in the captain's chair, still not quite believing it was real. All systems check, said Minji from her console. Engines ready, reported Taeyong. Course set for the nearest star system, added Jinho. Su-min looked at Jae-hwan and smiled. Ready when you are, Captain. Jae-hwan took a deep breath. Hope, let's show the universe what humanity can do. Launch. The ship rose smoothly into the air. As it climbed higher, they could see the curve of the Earth below them. It looked peaceful and beautiful. Soon, they were in space. The stars stretched out before them. Countless worlds waiting to be discovered. Preparing for faster-than-light jump, said Lox. Jae-hwan looked at his crew, human and Krezar together. They had faced the worst invasion in Earth's history and come out stronger. Now, they were taking humanity's first steps into a larger galaxy. Whatever's out there, Jae-hwan said, we're ready for it, because we've learned that together, we can overcome anything. With a flash of light, the Hope jumped into faster-than-light speed. Earth became a tiny dot behind them, and then disappeared. Humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning. They had not only survived the alien invasion, but had grown and become stronger because of it. Now, they were ready to take their place among the stars. As the ship raced towards unknown worlds, Jae-hwan thought about how far they had come. The Krezar had believed humans would fall easily. Instead, humanity had risen, stronger than ever before. And now, the whole universe was about to learn just how amazing humans could be.